What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, it's been a couple days since I uploaded. Let me close this so the lines ain't in my face. It's still there, but it's okay. Okay, I'll just sit back so it's not like, let me sit here. Yeah, as you can see, it's been a couple of days since I uploaded. And that's because I changed my posting schedule from every day to 2 days a week. Because, yeah, doing everyday uploads on here plus everyday uploads on TikTok, a little bit challenging, a little bit too much pressure on myself to show up for others when I need to be showing up for myself more than I show up for others. Literally just 2 days ago, what was that, Saturday? I was so tired. Like, I mean, I woke up feeling exhausted. I was exhausted the entire day. By 4 o'clock, I had come home and I, laid down, put some nature sounds on. I just closed my eyes, woke up 2 hours later, still felt tired. Laid there, relaxed for a couple hours, and I went and got myself something to eat. Barely could eat because I was so tired. And then I slept all night. And thank goodness yesterday I woke up feeling better. So that was a clear sign to me that I had just been giving too much energetically. This freaking light is irking me. Let me see if I put it the other way. There, that's better. So it just let me know that, like, I was just putting too much of myself out there and not giving myself enough time to, like, recharge, It's been a while since I have posted or been, like, in tune with this side of myself, like the spiritual side of myself. Because if you don't know, about 3 years ago, I was posting tarot content, a lot of tarot content. And back then, I was posting on TikTok at least 100 times a day. I'm not exaggerating. Like, I was literally posting from the time I got up to the time I went to sleep. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night with a message to post and would post that message. And then I was going on live for like 8 hours. I was giving all of myself to this business, this spiritual job that my soul signed up to have. And this time around, granted, when I was posting on tarot messages back then, I did grow kind of slowly. But then once I grew, like, I took off and then I just stopped. Like, it's like I went from a certain number of followers to a certain number of followers, and engagement went all the way up, but then it stopped. Like, it's almost like I got to the end of the road and there was nowhere else for me to go. It didn't matter how many more times I uploaded. It didn't matter if I changed the content. It didn't matter. It's like nobody was seeing my content anymore. And I know that that was God, like, stopping the moment before it got to be too much, even though it was already becoming too much. I know that was God, because this time around I'm growing, but it's like it feels more stable. I don't know how to explain it. Back then it didn't feel stable. It's like while I was going viral, I knew I had to keep posting. And also when I was going viral back then, I was only posting what I knew my viewers wanted to see. I wasn't trying to upload content that would have helped them in any way on their journeys. I was mainly just posting oh, this video is going viral. Let me post another video talking about the same topic so it can go viral too. Like, that's how I was. Back then, I was still very much in my ego, which is your flesh. I was very much still thinking with my conscious mind. And I'm not saying I don't think with my conscious mind now, but back then I was just more like, I have to do it this way because this way is what's working. I wasn't allowing change to happen in my life. I wasn't trying to be different. You know, I was working. My work ethic back then was the same as the work ethic I'd had my entire life. You know, if I was going to go for it, I was going to give it 150% every single day. You know, all work, no play is really how my life was back then. You know, I would show up and do these readings, and then on top of that, I was doing readings for people that would ask for them. So it was like constant, like me being in other people's energies and being pulled from different directions, but like energetically, of course. But I would never sit down and say like, okay, I need a day. And there would be days where I would say like, okay, I would tell myself, I'm gonna take this day to rest. And literally how my hand just hit this bin is like, as soon as I would say it is the second that I would stop taking care of myself, because I would be bored or I would feel this energy pulling on me to like post on TikTok or go live on TikTok. I just felt constant energy pulling on me back then, and I didn't know why, and I wasn't too like consciously aware of the spirit realm, if that makes sense. Like, I was trying to escape my reality because I didn't want to feel the things that I was going through. I didn't want to heal the things I was going through, but I wanted to help everybody else, you know, with their struggles. And with doing that, it's almost like my cup was becoming so dry energetically that the only thing that happened that God could do to like get me to sit down was to let me go through psychosis. That was when I truly went to God, was when I went through psychosis. I truly went to him at that point and I said, you're the only one that's going to understand what I'm going through. And since then, like, I have not left his side. I have not left his arms. I have not left his arms. Like, I have not let go, okay? And because of that, I have become so consciously aware of the spirit realm and how things are and how it's not all bubbles and sunshine. There's some dark stuff, that's some crazy stuff that, you know, happens in the spirit realm. And now, you know, like the other day, Saturday, when I told y'all how I had that whole day, I just rested the whole day, and I think I posted like once or twice on TikTok, but I really like didn't post much. I don't even think I was on my phone much that day. And I had somebody message me on Instagram. It was like, oh, do you have a reading for me? You know, I saw your post about blah, blah, blah. And I want to know if you have a reading for me. I straight up responded like, I am too tired. Like, I'm too spiritually tired right now to even do this for you. I will get back to you tomorrow. The next day, I contacted her, and turns out there wasn't a reading for her. But even that, back then, because I was still in my people-pleasing energy strongly, that if I received somebody messaging me and they wanted a reading, I felt like I had to give them a reading no matter what. And I never had a price for my readings. I always just did like donation. Like, you just donate and that's it. If you donate $1, then whatever, it's $1. But you donate once the reading is given. And I would sit there and I would try my best to give, let me get my notebook so I can get the message. I would try my best to give a message. Like, I would literally, like, I'm seeing, like, I literally would pull it out of my ass. Like, something for them. I wouldn't allow myself, like, if there was nothing coming in, to say, oh, there's nothing coming in for you right now, because I thought I would be disappointing them and making them upset. And, like, looking back, it's like, girl, you had a lot of work to do on yourself, and you were just not doing it at all because you just wanted to take care of everybody else. But what about you, Bookie? What about you? And, like, now I'm at the point where I am taking care of myself a lot better. Like, I'm a lot more disciplined spiritually and mentally. But in my physicalness, out here, I'm not that disciplined. I will say, like, it's a work in progress. I don't know. It was kind of, it was a struggle to become more disciplined mentally and to be more obedient um, mentally and spiritually to God. But now it's becoming easier. And, I started small, you know, and no, I'm lying. In the beginning, I tried to give, like, I tried to go a mile, and all God wanted me to do was take one step. But I was like, I'm going to go a mile. And he would let me do that over and over again, and I get tired. So I eventually was like, okay, I'm tired of trying to go a mile. I'm going to take one step, like you've been telling me to do. And I take that one step. I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this a lot better than trying to, like, rush. And that's literally the title. Like, hold on. Y'all know I gotta write it down. Today is the 17th, I think. Yeah, I ain't done a video since the 13th. That was 4 days ago. There. But there's literally no need to rush, like, at all. And I'm learning that. Well, I've learned that mentally, and I've learned that spiritually. Physically, like within my flesh, it's a little bit more difficult because there is ego involved. It's a little bit more challenging than, mentally and spiritually, because it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. There's no ego involved in that. But within my flesh, there is ego involved in that. And, when it comes to God leading your life, 9 times out of 10, he's going to have you doing something you don't want to do, working somewhere you don't want to work, in an environment where you don't want to be in. But it's all to prepare you for the things that you really, really want, or that you see yourself, in the big house, and, the healthy marriage, and healthy children, upbringing, raising healthy children, mentally stable children. You got to go through certain things. You may have had to been raised around toxic familiar environments in order to understand what not to do with your children or with your spouse. Or maybe you had to grow up in poverty, or you didn't grow up in poverty, but once you moved out, your life was in poverty, and you had to learn and break cycles, because you may not have grown up in poverty and you always had what you needed, but your family never gave away, or they didn't really help when your family needed help. Nobody else helped when your family needed help or was calling for someone to help them. It was all like, oh, that's life, you'll figure it out. Or when you call your family for help, they're like, oh, that's life, you'll figure it out, like we did. Even though they created something for themselves, they didn't want to help you get any closer to your goals. It's like, well, we figure it out. well with what we had, so you should figure it out too. And you basically were left doing everything alone, but you weren't. The whole purpose of all of this was for your flesh to go to God. Because if you followed in the footsteps of your family or the footsteps of whatever you experienced, it would be even worse than what you initially experienced, and even more traumatic than it was the first time, because there's no God in that. And you had to realize that, like, you know, be appreciative for the little things. Like, be appreciative for, the little bit of groceries you can afford to put into your kitchen. Be appreciative for the little bit of gas you can put in the car. At least you can still get to and from work. Like, God had to humble you. I know He's had to humble me physically. Okay. God had to humble you and help you to recognize that the things that you want out of life, yeah, He wants that for you too, but He also wants you to have like values and morals and gratitude, big on the gratitude, because He could give you all the things that you're wanting, every single thing you have asked Him for, the entire plan that you made. He could give you that entire plan, and then as soon as you get it, you don't even know what to do with it or how to maintain it or how to keep it. Or it goes straight to your head and you forget, you don't even hear God when He's telling you, like, oh, help your friend out or help your mom out. And you're like, I'm not helping my mom because my mom did when I was a kid. And that just shows that you're still bitter. And you got to be better than that. It's definitely a slow process when you're physically giving your life to God. And it is easier spiritually and mentally to do this than it is physically. I don't have like examples of how to do this physically because I'm still learning how to do it. But spiritually and mentally, I have some examples of what may help. Finding some type of spiritual practice that you can do daily for at least, 5 minutes. If it's just reading a verse out of the Bible, if it's just taking 5 minutes to pray in the morning before you touch your phone. Eventually, like as you keep doing it, you're going to notice like you're able to do it longer and longer and longer. If you try to say, okay, I'm going to read a whole chapter in the Bible today, and you've never read a chapter in the Bible in one day before, you're going to have a million negative thoughts telling you not to do it. You're going to have a million reasons why and a million distractions. And then by the end of the day, you realize I never read that chapter. And you're going to feel so bad. And you're going to beat yourself up and go, I never read that chapter. God is angry with me, blah, 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 blah. When God never told you had to read a chapter a day in order to hear and feel His presence. In order to hear Him and feel His presence. You just have to talk to Him. You don't, text your best friend every day, all day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. You don't even go to the bathroom without texting your best friend. I'm sure there's somebody out there that is like that, but you get the point. You have time for yourself. All God is saying, make time for me. That's it. So that's how you spiritually, mentally, same thing. That's how you create discipline. Now, the spiritual part. That's how you create discipline spiritually. Or build a connection spiritually. Now, the discipline part comes with your mind. That is you doing it even when you don't feel like doing it. Because in the beginning, especially the first few weeks, first few months, you're going to have days where you're like, ugh, I don't feel like reading my Bible today. I just want to lay in bed and watch TikToks. Now, if you can lay in your bed and watch TikToks for 2 hours straight, you could have been reading your Bible that entire 2 hours, and you wouldn't even realize that it had been 2 hours. But that a lot of people, it's hard for them to put God first. They're very transactional with God. Like, gotta need a house, gotta need a car, gotta need some money, you know? But when you actually are trying to build a relationship with God, you gotta show up for God the same way as you would show up for your husband, you know? I'm just saying. So, you know, doing it when you don't feel like doing it. Showing up, picking up the Bible, praying, even when you don't feel like doing it. Watching a sermon, and you don't have to sit there in front of the TV or right by the phone. You can literally, instead of getting up in the morning, if you normally play your music while you're getting dressed for work, put on a sermon while you're getting dressed for work. If you normally drive to work with music on, drive to work and listen to your Bible on the Bible app, the Holy Bible app. I don't know why I thought my voice got louder when I said that. But those are things that you can do to start creating that foundation and building that relationship spiritually and mentally. Now, I'll get back to you on the physical part because that's what I'm learning about now. I'm still a student in that, so I'm not even going to sit here and try to tell you what you can do to help you physically push through that ego because I'm still struggling with it. For real. Like, I won't say I'm really struggling, but it's like a 7 out of 10. So yeah, that's pretty much really struggling with my flesh, doing things for myself physically, showing up for myself physically. You know, I don't spend as much time on my phone as I used to. Like, my screen time is like 2 hours a day. I don't sit here and idly scroll, but that's 22 hours. Well, I'll say 10 hours because you're really up about 12 hours a day. Like, out of the day, you're up for like 12 to like 16 hours, and then you're sleep. So I'm just gonna say 10 extra hours. Like, I don't even know what I'd do with those 10 hours. Like, I could do a workout, I could take a shower, I could wash my hair, I could style my hair, I could do a skincare routine, I could go for a walk, I could go shopping, I could, you know, color, I could do a crossword puzzle, I could watch my favorite movie from my childhood. You know, I have been a lonely person most of my life, and I used to not like my idle time where I just was alone in a room by myself, whether it was daylight, nighttime, midday, didn't matter. I didn't like it. I would always have something on to distract my mind and my thoughts. So it would be the TV, I would be scrolling. When I was in Connecticut, my friend would come and pick me up and I would just be with her all day. And I would literally find reasons to be out of the house, but it wasn't for healthy purposes. It was because I wanted to distract myself from what I felt inside. So I just went and tried to have fun instead of healing. Now that I'm healing, I'm learning how to introduce more fun into my life, which is why I feel like my current job at Ulta, I'm barely even there. Like, I'm so part-time. Like, I be there like once a week, if that. And then I make my content on TikTok. But when I first started making content on TikTok last month, I was posting like maybe like 5 to 7 times a day. Now I can say I post about 2 to 3 times a day. And it's usually like really early in the morning, like between the hours of 3 a.m. to like 7 a.m. I may post another video middle of the day or towards the end of the day, but most of my TikTok content, all my TikTok content is done before 12 p.m. And then, I'm making these videos 2 times a week, and it takes me about, because I'm not editing the videos right now, at least, and it takes me like 20, 30, 40 minutes out of my day to make the videos. And for TikTok or YouTube and TikTok, it's about same time, like 30, 40 minutes, making videos. So that's what, an hour, 2 hours and some change. So basically the amount of time of my screen time is me working and doing my spiritual job. And then when I'm at work at my physical job, I'm only there for like 4 hours max, maybe 5, but it's been mostly 4 hours. So God has strategically made my life so I don't have room to work. I don't have time to work as much as I used to, because I really feel like I'm spiritually tired. Like my spirit just wants to relax. I want to put out the content. I want to do what God's called me to do, but I also want to have like a work to play ratio now. But I don't know what that play looks like for me. I don't know what I'm introducing into my life. This is the first time I've actually been open about this at all, because I always try to make it seem like physically I am at the top of the mountain, spiritually and mentally, yes, but physically I'm at the bottom of the mountain, climbing up the mountain. I'm not afraid to climb up the mountain. I'm not too tired to climb up the mountain, but it's just like I feel like physically it's just a little bit more work than the spiritual. Like spiritually, you can just shift your mindset, mentally, you can just shift your mindset. But physically, you got to change your actions and your habits. And if you've been doing the same actions and the same habits for who knows how long, longer than 6 months, you've had the same routine, the same habits, God can't come down here and make your flesh move, but he can encourage your spirit, which is, your spiritual self. He can encourage your spirit, and he can change your mind. He can shift your mindset. But I almost gave you the middle finger. But the third thing, the flesh, that's up to you. So when God says like you physically have free will, it's true, because spiritually he can move you, mentally he can shift you, but physically he cannot move you. You have to move yourself. And I'm literally sitting here like, if I can be disciplined and listening to my Bible and listening to my subliminals and doing whatever I do spiritually for myself, if I can catch myself when I have a negative thought about something and shift that thought into a different thought, then I can do that for myself physically. I can physically make better decisions. I can physically make better habits. But even though it's challenging, I got to think back to when I first started this spiritual journey with God 2 years ago. It was challenging, but I still showed up every day and did something. And whether I journaled and all I could write in my journal was one word, I still showed up and did something. Now I can write a whole page, 2 pages in my journal. But there was a time when all I could write was one word. So there was a time when I couldn't even pray for longer than 5 minutes. Now I could pray, be totally engulfed in the Holy Spirit, and I look at my phone. It's been an hour and a half that's gone by and I've been praying. I remember when making a YouTube video, just sitting, this was years ago, but sitting in front of the camera and just letting my heart speak. Oh, I'd be sitting in front of the camera for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours worth of footage that I have to edit down into 20 to 30 minutes or less. So I've made progress, but it hasn't been spiritually and mentally. But physically, I want it to be like I want it to be speed demon like Michael Jackson. I want it to be fast. And it's like God even physically relocated me from a fast-paced environment to a slow-paced environment. Because where I lived in Connecticut, I was in the Northeast. Everybody's rushing, trying to get to where they gotta go. And that Northeast culture, you just gotta get to where you're going and then go home. Like, you gotta get there and go to the next place and the next place and the next place and the next place and the next place. Where I live now, it is slow and steady. Granted, the people here drive like they don't got no freaking sense. But it's peaceful. Even in the city that is of the bigger city that is closest to me, it's still slow and steady. Like it's not nearly as fast paced as where I lived in Connecticut. And I'm starting to realize that just within the last 2 days that like, oh, God moved me here to slow me down physically. Because he was trying to slow me down in that fast-paced environment. But I wasn't listening. I was like, I know you want me to go at snail speed, but I'm trying to be in a Ferrari right now. I'm trying to be a sloth driving a Ferrari. But God was like, no, I need you to be a sloth walking across the street. I don't need you to be a sloth trying to drive a Ferrari because you're going to get hurt. You're going to crash. You're going to run into the wrong people. You're going to go into the wrong places. You're going to make the wrong decisions. And so now, literally in the last 48 hours, I've started to see why he moved me here. And I've been here for 2 years. I've been here for 2 years, and all I wanted to do since I got here is move back to a faster pace environment. Wherever in the United States or out of the United States, somewhere where they move faster than they do here. Because it's uncomfortable for me physically. Spiritually, I'm chilling. Mentally, I'm chilling. I love it, okay? Literally, the first thing I said when I moved here was like, oh, my spirit needed this. I needed this. Like, it's a sigh of relief. Like, I don't have to move so fast. But physically, it's like, bruh, can we move any faster? I'm standing in a line and it's moving slow. Like, can we check out faster? I'm trying to go from the grocery store to the car and somebody stops me. Now we're having a 20-minute long conversation. Bro, I just want to go to the car and go home. These are things that would be going through my flesh and my ego since I moved here. And only in the last 48 hours have I started to realize, like, okay, you moved me here for a reason. No, this is not where I want to be, but this is where you need me to be. Because moving here, I truly have found God. Every person that I've met that I have become friends with, they have a relationship with God. Not just a little half, transactional relationship. Like, no, like they be praying. They be going to church. They be praising God when they, going through things, hardships or whatever. They be recommending me Bible verses that I need to read or chapters in the Bible I need to read. Okay? It's different down here and it's uncomfortable because I'm used to the spiritual, new age, tarot environment. Even though I wasn't really Well, yeah, the friends I attracted in Connecticut, they were like doing tarot and stuff like that. But now, and literally I can feel it in my chest. Like, it's so freaking uncomfortable. But I know that I'm making the right choice to finally just like, just see how this plays out. And, you know, instead of trying to peek around the corner at the blessing, instead of trying to jump up, you know, over the barrier to see how the blessing's coming in, and just stay right where God has me. So that's for somebody, because it is way harder to not want to rush physically. Your soul and your conscious mind already knows. Your soul and your subconscious mind, my bad. Your soul and your subconscious mind already knows, like, this is inevitable. It's possible. But your conscious mind, your ego, your flesh is like, bruh, it may be possible, but I'm trying to make this happen. I'm trying to make this work. I'm trying to make moves, and I can't make any moves. Everything that I've tried to do either falls apart, like anything I try to do on my own, it's either falls apart, or, you know, something transpires where I'm not able to complete the task at hand that I made. My plans that I make myself are not working. They're falling through every single time. So I've just basically physically within my flesh, it's like, all right, it's uncomfortable, but clearly the longer I try to keep doing this myself, the longer it's gonna take for me to get there. So I might as well just surrender and shut up and let him do what he's doing. That's how I feel. That's literally how I feel in this moment. It's like, all right, you want me to do whatever he's about to tell me to do next? I'm gonna do it. You want me to blah 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 blah? I'm gonna do it. Look at that is definitely the enemy trying to get me to say what God is calling me to do physically, because there is definitely spiritual ears listening that want to know what I'm up to. But I'm not gonna say what he wants me to do. But I know what he wants me to do, what he's been telling me to do physically. I just ain't been doing it, because delayed obedience is still disobedience. Okay, I'll see y'all sometime this week. Bye.